use such text. The second text gives you another solution to the people of the land according to the Torah. Okay.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, 1-7. When the Lord your God brings you into the land that you are about to enter and occupy, and when the Lord your God gives them 7 nations over to you, and you defeat them, then you must utterly destroy them, make no covenant with them, and show them no mercy.
This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now, I have to say for Christians and then for Jews. For Christians, those of us who are Christians, the question that it must be raised, when you look at a text like this, you need to ask, is this the God that we have come to know in Jesus Christ? And for Jews, for Judaism, is this the God that they believe in? Again, please remember, I'm talking about what the government of Israel has done and does, and the religious settlers and the Zionist Jews, who are very fanatic. So you have only 2 solutions to the problem of the indigenous people of the land. You throw them out or destroy them. And I have clippings of some of these religious fanatics, religious extremists have written in Israeli papers. I know they're using those scriptures. But these scriptures, in my opinion, and you'll find in the book, that I explained that they reflect a tribal image of God. That's why we are not bound by it. Because within the Hebrew scriptures itself, you begin to see that there are prophets who critique these texts. So you are looking at a tribal understanding of God. But some of these religious extremists in Israel today, these religious, they are using these texts against the Palestinians to justify the driving out of the Palestinians or even the killing them. Next. Skip. Okay, this is for example, look at Ezekiel. You're talking about the Torah in those texts. Look at Ezekiel. Ezekiel is a prophet after the exile. So look what he's saying.
So you shall divide this land among you according to the tribes of Israel. You shall allot it as an inheritance for yourselves and for the aliens who reside among you and have begotten children among you. They shall be to you as citizens of Israel. With you they shall be allotted an inheritance among the tribes of Israel. In whatever tribe aliens reside, there you shall assign them their inheritance, says the Lord God.
You see, it's wonderful, because within the Hebrew Bible, you find a new understanding of God and a new understanding of the people of the land. So Ezekiel is saying, God is saying, this when it says the Lord God, this is the sovereign God, this is Jehovah. He's telling the prophet Ezekiel, things have changed. Now it's after the exile. People have moved into the land. You have many people who have come from outside. And these people are in the land, and you shouldn't drive them out. You shouldn't kill them. You gotta live with them. You have to share the land with the people. Now, I don't consider myself an alien. We are not aliens, Palestinians. We're not aliens. But even if the state of Israel considers us aliens, look at this. Ezekiel is saying, share the land, inherit the land. Inherit it. It's an amazing text. So this is what we use. We say Israel must share the land with the Palestinians, indigenous people of the land. This is what we are talking about. Okay, next. Okay, I move into another section that has nothing to do with the Bible, but it comes from Jewish religious literature. Some of it comes from the Tanakh, from the Talmud, some of it comes from the Halakha, but these are there. You find in the book even more of these. And they're coming from Jewish religious literature. Again, I need to remind you, many Jews don't believe in these things. Reform Judaism, I'm sure, would critique it. So there are people, but those who are religious Jewish extremists, what you read here, they are practicing back home. That's it.
Christians and Muslims are idol worshippers, and their churches must be burned.
So we can document this because we have been, many churches and mosques have been burned because that's what they believe. Go ahead.
According to Halakha, the killing of a Jew, of a non-Jew,
by a Jew.
By a Jew, of a non-Jew, under any circumstances, is not regarded as murder. Non-Jews who are permitted to reside in the land of Israel must accept to pay a tax and suffer the humiliation of servitude.
Next.
Since 2009, 43 hate crime attacks have taken place against churches, monasteries, and mosques, attributed to rabbis for human rights.
So it's the rabbis of human rights who have done the research, and this is their conclusion, that since 2009, 43 hate crime attacks have been taking place against the churches, monasteries, and mosques by these extremist Jewish sectors.
In 2013, the U.S. State Department included price tag attacks in their report after a Christian monastery near Jerusalem was firebombed and spray painted with the words, "Death to the Gentiles."
Next.
What are the options for a peaceful solution? Number one, the two-state solution is what UN resolutions and international law require. A Palestinian state on all the occupied territories that Israel conquered in the 1967 war, the state of Israel.
So the two are, it's not very clear here, but either the two-state solution would be a Palestinian state and the state of Israel.
And number two, one state. This is the ideal solution. Equal democracy for all citizens, Israelis and Palestinians.
What does Israel want? One sovereign Israeli state over the whole land. No sovereign Palestinian state, only home rule, a Bantustan, a vassalage for the isolated and disjointed Palestinian towns and villages.
Next.
Main obstacles to peace. The U.S. has used its veto over 43 times to protect Israel from being condemned and censored by the UN Security Council for its violations of international law. The U.S. Congress in both houses and in both parties gives blind support to Israel. The pro-Israel lobby is powerful in using intimidation and financial resources to effect change for Israel's benefit. American Christian Zionists and neocons give blind support to Israel.
Next.
Reasons for hope. Our hope and trust is in the God of justice and peace. Injustice and oppression cannot have the last word. American Jews of conscience are speaking out. Jewish Voice for Peace is very active. Younger generations of Jews are open to fairness and justice. Jewish Israeli settler extremist actions are opposed. Exposed. And boycott, divestment, and sanctions are working.
Next.
Ban Ki-moon, UN former Secretary General, on January 30th, 2016. Ban called Israeli settlement activity an affront to the Palestinian people, and it is human nature to resist occupation. The status quo is untenable. Keeping another people under indefinite occupation undermines the security and the future of both Israelis and Palestinians.
Next.
Professor Elan Ben-Meir at New York University Center for Global Affairs has said, unless Israel embraces a new moral path, no one can prevent it from unraveling from within, only to become a pariah state that has lost its soul. Israel's occupation cannot be defended on moral grounds or in terms of national security. It is drowning in moral corruption that the continued occupation only deepens.
Henry Siegman, a former national director of the American Jewish Congress, Israel, has crossed the threshold from the only democracy in the Middle East to the only apartheid regime in the Western world.
Martin Luther King Jr. said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice.
Martin Luther King Jr. also said, history will have to record that the greatest tragedy of this period of social transition was not the strident clamor of the bad people, but the appalling silence of the good people.
Jesus Christ continues to call us to do justice so that peace and security can be achieved for all the people of Palestine and Israel. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God.
We're going to skip that. Skip that. Yeah. Okay, these last two, I just skipped them because they have to do with the issue of Jerusalem. If we have time, I can go back to them, but I don't think we have time for that. Okay, next. Yeah, that's it. Okay, my friends, this is what I wanted to share with you. We can have discussion now, but please, I urge you, I plead with you to engage with us in our work for justice and peace and reconciliation. We want Israel to live in peace. We want Israel to be secure. But Israel has to do justice for the Palestinians. Without justice for the Palestinians, there will never be peace for the state of Israel. So work with us, join us, come and see us, come and see for yourself. We would love to welcome you because we must find a just solution to this intractable conflict so that all the people of the land, Muslims, Jews, Christians, can live in peace and security. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for introducing liberation theology and great questions of our time. We would like you to engage in conversation and discussion. Please, if you have questions or you want something discussed more fully, can you write it down on the little slips of paper that were passed around earlier? We want to gather those questions and use them in our Q&A period of discussion. Kathy Bergen has a sign-up sheet, I think, for people if they're interested in more, maybe that's already gone around, more information. And she is going to talk a little bit also about Sabeel and the Canadian Friends of Sabeel. Okay.
Yes, there are 3 slides that Canadian, can you hear me? Oh, that's better. There are 3 slides that Canadian Friends of Sabeel sent out. Just a summary of, well, I'll actually read them to you. Excuse me. If you are interested in learning more about Palestinian liberation theology, you can register for a course which will begin on Wednesday night, May 2nd, in Toronto. I have some papers here that have the address of where you can register for this course. The course is, we call it a short certificate course. It's going to feature 2 theologians, Reverend Naim Ateek and Maggie Abdel-Messiah. She teaches in Halifax, Palestinian Liberation Theology. So you can see me later. These are the papers I have for that event that contains information that you can actually go to your computer and register for it online. But this has the information, so you can just come and see me later if you'd like to have that, or I can leave it maybe on the table. So that's one thing. Let's see now, how do I switch that to the next one? Oh, on here. Okay. Yeah. So if you would like to get involved, of course, Friends of Sabeel Sabeel can always use money to further our programs. And I'd like to say just a few things about some of the programs that we have. You can go to the www.friendsofsabeel.ca to learn more or to make a donation. 3 things that we're planning for the future. Canadian Friends of Sabeel and Friends of Sabeel North America, which is based in the US, send a group of people to study the situation in Israel-Palestine once a year. And this year's tour is already full, but you can always organize or participate in a tour in the future. The other thing, and I want to say that these tours always talk to Israelis and Palestinians. The group goes to Israel-Palestine to see some holy sites of all the 3 faiths. They meet religious leaders in the other 3 faiths. The other thing I just want to mention, one more thing, Gaza Calls is a weekend. Last year, Canadian Friends of Sabeel organized Gaza Calls, and what it was is people who can hear about what's happening in Gaza, because very few people can actually get into Gaza. So if you sign up for one of the, either to be on the local list here, or you can sign up to be on the Canadian Friends of Sabeel list, you will have more information about all of this. We're looking for volunteers all the time, so please see one of us, either Naim or myself, if you're interested in doing some volunteering. Okay? Thank you. Oh, there's one more. Yeah, this is the tour that I mentioned that is actually full, but it is going. But it's full already, so unfortunately
We're
for this
passing
year.
around evaluations for the evening. So I'm going to pass this around and you tell us how we did this evening while the question and answer are happening.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. I don't know if we have all the questions. You're welcome to keep writing questions and we'll keep gathering them. The first one that came in was, what do you think are the shared core elements of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity?
I think, without any hesitation, it's our faith in one God. This is supposed to be the core, that the three religions, that's why we are known as three monotheistic religions. The problem with that is that on one hand, that's wonderful. On the other hand, it looks like that our faith in one God has not helped us to resolve the conflict. I mean, it's supposedly that if we believe in the same one God, we should love each other more and resolve the conflict. But the basic core is our faith in one God, and that this God is merciful and just and all the nice things that we talk about God.
So another question refers to Frank Epp and Forrest Bacon.
A.C. Forrest.
A.C. Forrest. Back in 1967, talked about liberation theology in Palestine. 50 years on, things get worse for Palestinians. How can you expect to change things?
Forrest was Canadian, and he came and lived in Palestine and wrote a wonderful book. I can't remember do you know what's the name of the book?
Unholy Land.
Unholy Land. The Unholy Land. Yeah, I mean, because people think about the Holy Land, but it is so unholy in the way we treat each other, and we're killing each other and negating each other. So I think it was one of those wonderful books that was written. I think he was he United Church? It was United Church.
United Church Observer.
Yeah. And it was
Editor.
Yeah, it was an amazing book in those days, and I think it's still relevant. So if you get hold of the book, read it. It's a wonderful book.
Yeah, but what happened? I mean, he talked about it, Frank Epp talked about it. Liberation theology, but we're worse.
Yeah.
Worse off. So
Unfortunately. And that's
how are you going to solve the problem?
Well, we hope. That's why we want to engage. We want to involve ourselves in working for a just peace. There is no other way. It means commitment on every one of us. If we don't commit ourselves, then the situation back home will go from worse to worse. And I think we need to do something ourselves, through our governments, for all the people of the land.
We Christians must own up to the fact that fundamentalist Christians are very strongly linked to the Jewish Zionists, and Christian Zionists are using each other for their own goals. I've watched a video in which a Christian pastor encourages her followers to pray against the Palestinians because they're not written of in the Bible.
About Christian Zionists.
Yeah.
Is there a question?
Do you want to comment on it?
Yeah, the question of Christian Zionism is a very important question. At Sabeel, in one of our international conferences, we dealt with this. We addressed it. We have a very big book challenging Christian Zionism. And actually, what Trump did in the United States on claiming or proclaiming the Jerusalem as the capital of Israel was done partly, I would say, as a result of being flooded with letters from Christian Zionists, because Christian Zionists who are working and they are very much pro-Israel, but they're not really, they don't like Israel that much. They're using Israel because in Christian Zionist theology, Jews need to go back there, but in Armageddon, 2/3 of the Jews are going to be massacred. So I don't think they love the Jews that much.
No,
But they're using each other.
That is, my friend, check your sources. Check your sources. Check your sources. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Read what John Hagee writes.
He's right.
Although John Hagee now is very much pro-Israel. But see how he uses the Old Testament text. So we know what Christian Zionists are doing today and are saying. Obviously, many of them try not to use those critical words or text now because things have changed. But when we know the history of Christian Zionism, all of it, and in one of my books, I have a chapter on just to introduce people to Christian Zionism. So, unfortunately, you're looking at fundamentalist Christians who are literalists in their interpretation of the Bible, and that can be very dangerous.
Another question is, I just was away for the weekend at a family reunion, and so this question is a little bit sensitive. Someone who's married to a Jewish woman who recognizes and supports Palestinian rights and self-determination, but not everyone in the family does. And so how do you have conversations? How do you raise awareness with the Jewish in-laws around the truth and of the injustices against Palestinians?
I would say the best. First of all, it's always sensitive. I mean, let's face it. It's very, very sensitive, especially when it comes within the family. Some people avoid it. I know in the United States, some people cannot talk about if they are Democrats or Republicans. They cannot discuss it. So they just avoid it. But I would say, probably one of the suggestions that I would say, if these people can afford it, it'd be great if they can come. And I would say come and visit the two sides. So you need to go and see what Israel is doing, and then you need to go and see what the Palestinians are, the way the Palestinians are living, and the occupation. So that's probably the best way. Because if people have eyes, they can see. And don't show them one side. They gotta see both sides. Always.
A couple of questions about the politics of the emphasis for a just peace must come from the Israelis, but what should Palestinian political groups to do to bring increased pressure to bring about this just peace? And another question is about the demonstrations going on in Gaza, where many Palestinians have been killed. The present leaders in Gaza, what control do they have of their own people?
I mean, there are many questions there, and I don't think I probably can respond to every one of them. But basically, what's happening in Gaza, and I think they represent the sentiment of all the Palestinians, is that it's been 70 years on the problem of refugees and the conflict itself, and the resolution to the conflict. And the Palestinians have been waiting for 70 years. On the Palestinian issue since 1967, they've been waiting 50 years. They're waiting for the international community to enforce United Nations resolutions. We don't need new resolutions. There are plenty of resolutions. But these resolutions have not been implemented. So what they are calling for, they want the United Nations, they want the international community to implement what the United Nations is saying, has said. United Nations is not against Israel. United Nations created Israel. Who created Israel? If they did not partition Palestine, there will not be an Israel. I mean, there was these things, I mean, we could talk about. And maybe fundamentalists would say, oh, God created Israel. Well, politically speaking, it was the United Nations, They partitioned Palestine, and the America and the United Kingdom, or the Britain, we're the ones who sponsor this. It's a sponsorship of these great powers. And I think we need to be aware of this. And I think that's why we say, the Palestinians are saying, how long can we live? These people in Gaza are there, outside, and they are trying to demonstrate non-violently. But the Israeli army is shooting them and killing them. And the same thing happens in the West Bank. It needs to stop, my friends. It needs to stop. And we need, every one of us, has a responsibility before God to stand for justice and to stand for the neighbor that is oppressed. That's what I would say.
This is a comment that I hear a lot from people who maybe, so let me just read the comment. It seems that religion is the problem. Would it not be better if we were all atheists?
Religion can be a blessing to people. But if religion is abused, it can be a problem. The Old Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures, has a wonderful things. As I mentioned, there are things there that I have learned by heart. And it enriches my spirituality. The same thing with the New Testament. But if we begin to abuse Scripture, it becomes a problem. And I tell you, I agree with the writer of the question. Today, religion, to a great extent, is part of the problem. How can we make it now part of the solution and part of the resolution of the conflict? That's up to us. And I hope, and please, for us, at least for me, I say, and I think probably for many of you, you use your reason. You gotta use your reason when you read the Bible. Don't take it literally. It was not meant to be taken literally. It's only fundamentalists who take it literally. If you take it literally, you're gonna drive out people. And I tell you, in South Africa, you use the Bible literally. That's why there was apartheid. In North America, in Canada and the United States, they use the Bible literally. And that's why most of the indigenous people were utterly destroyed. This is the way when you use the Bible literally. This is what happens. Use the Bible as a blessing for people, for redemption, God's grace, God's love for all people. This is the way we use the Bible.
This person wrote, about how in 2018 was our speaker barred from speaking in Toronto? Was that you? Were you barred from speaking?
Yeah.
No, I was not barred, but I was in every place I went, almost every place, not all. You know, that we had people from B'nai B'rith that did not like, and they were there to I don't know, disrupt. Actually, they try to always discredit what I say. In order, I don't think when they speak, when they try to discredit me, they're not really talking to me, they're really trying to talk to the Canadians. Don't listen to this guy. He's not truthful, or he's not honest, or he's not whatever, you know. But thank God, the Canadians are intelligent people, and they can tell immediately where these people are coming from. So they end up shooting their own selves, you know, with the way they talk. But there were people, and you know, it's always nice to have people who are critical. I love it. But I've done my homework, and my books are there, and I hope people will read the books and try to engage in peacemaking. This is what we are all about, justice making and peacemaking.
We have come to the end of the questions. There are, oh, sorry, Martin.
I did submit a question there about the political situation. I'm sorry it's been passed over. But it seems...
No, is it this one? I appreciate your efforts.
No, it was about what do Palestinian political groups...
Oh, I'm
need
sorry.
to do.
Let me do that one. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Well, I did read it, but the emphasis must come from Israelis, but what should Palestinian political groups do to increase pressure to bring about justice?
I tell you, the problem is that we don't really have much, what do we say, clout. You know, I mean, the Jewish people have much more clout. And because the United States, basically, it's the United States. If the United States would change its position and be more fair, I don't want them to be pro-Palestinian. I want them to be pro-justice. I don't ask anyone to be pro. We are not perfect, after all. And Israel is not perfect. But they are blindly supporting the Israeli government in this. And I mentioned, they're supporting Israel financially, politically, and militarily. You know. So the Palestinians are trying their best, and we are trying our best to convince Palestinians not to respond violently. You know, as I mentioned, and God is my witness. You know, we don't believe in violence, but many of our people are resisting violently. And we want them to resist, because resistance is important, but we want them to resist non-violently. And I tell you, what's happening in Gaza today, I hope it will spread to the whole of the West Bank, that people need to stand up and resist non-violently. The power of non-violence is amazing, and we have not really used it to its maximum.
Why isn't the Palestinian Authority supporting it?
No, the Palestinian Authority stands for non-violence, in my opinion. They're not very strong, and there are many things that they need to do and they're not doing. I agree with you.
That's right.
I agree. But thank God that President Abbas only talks about nonviolence. You know, when he's speaking, he's talking about nonviolence. But the people themselves, not all of them believe in nonviolence. Let's face it. I mean, we know the problem. But at the same time, we know that more and more people are beginning to open their eyes and ears. And I believe that we are moving to a situation, especially in the United States and Canada. You know, there are people who are supporting the nonviolent revolution of the Palestinian people. And I hope you will continue to do that. Because I think nonviolence can work. Unfortunately, Israel is only using violence, in my opinion. I'm speaking in what I know. The violence of the Israeli government and the settlers now, the violence of the settlers, are obvious, they're conspicuous. And I think people need, look, I'm so glad you're here, all of you. I know from what I know, some of you are very much pro-Israel. And that's your life. And that's fine. But we need to be, both of us, we need to be pro-justice for all the people of the land. Pro-peace. And Israel wants the land. And Israel doesn't want the Palestinians on the land. Exactly what's happening, what the Americans and the Canadians try to do with the indigenous people here. But my friends, we believe in the power of nonviolence because this is the way of Jesus. And we are followers of Jesus Christ. And we will always stand for nonviolence. We want, as I repeat, we want Israel to live in peace within its own borders. That's it. And the Palestinians need to have their state alongside the state of Israel, or have the one state
For everybody.
for everyone. And it must be equal democracy. Our fear is that Israel has gotten used to using racism or being racist. That's the fear. That Israel cannot handle an equal democracy. And I think that would be the challenge. But thank God, today we have international law. We have different ways. We need to walk with each other, live with each other. I served the Church of Haifa for many years. And we lived with Jews. Haifa is one of the finest examples of living together between Christians, Muslims, and Jews. So we can live together, but justice has to be done.
I think we've probably had enough questions and responses tonight. So let me thank Naim Ateek very sincerely from all of us for your willingness to be with us and to help us hear from a Christian theologian from Palestine. Thank you.
How many of you have not visited Israel, Palestine? A good number. Please come.
Not or
No.
Have not.
No.
Those who have not been there.
Well,
Yeah.
before that, I was born there.
Yeah, you were born there. But I'm saying that Sabeel helps to organize in an affordable way. Once you have your ticket with you, we don't charge very much, but we have to obviously for your stay, and we will take you and show you around.
Okay.
Yeah. So come.
That's a date.
There are books here, and they will be happy to sign autographed copies of the books. So,
Do you have any money
as
to buy a
we
book?
disperse tonight, thank you so much for coming to be part of this
I have no
presentation.
money.
And let's all pray for peace, in whatever our faith is.
I would love to go. I know I'm going to get pissed off, but I'll still go.
How much is the book?
I wanted to ask him.
Chair here.